Introduced by James Madison to the first United States Congress, the Bill of Rights is a collection of the first 10 amendments in the Constitution that came into effect on December 15, 1791. They limit the power of the U.S. government for the good of the people. The Bill of Rights starts with the First Amendment.
The First Amendment gives U.S. citizens freedom of speech, press, religion, assembly, and petition. Some of the most current issues involving this amendment were the new proposed restrictions on internal data, such as what you can say and can't say on the web, and a Muslim woman being able to be sued for being mad to remove her headscarf inside a prison holding cell, disregarding her freedom of religion. Examples of these five things would be in a court holding a cell. A Muslim woman asked to take off her headscarf, she can sue freedom of religion. There are now online restrictions on the things you can say online. Freedom of speech. A petition to support the nuclear deal with India threatens the U.S. freedom to petition. Paparazzi going a bit too far with freedom of press. Groups and individuals of groups being watched for anti-war assembly. Freedom of assembly.
The Second Amendment gives U.S. citizens the right to bear arms, not the furry kind. The Bill of Rights basically states that citizens are entitled to owning and carrying a weapon. Some states require certain limitations regarding the weapon, such as not having it in your vehicle or perimeter when in a school zone. In the People versus Aguilar case, Illinois challenges the banning of a concealed Illinois challenges the boundaries of rightful concealing of a weapon for lawful self-defense. Illinois has a state law banning open and concealed carry but has no procedure for licensing.
The Third Amendment says that it prohibits the ordering of soldiers. This means the soldiers cannot be forced to live in someone's house. In the Emblong versus Carey case, officials were evicted to flee their homes on the prison grounds during a strike.
This is Ohio 367 U.S. 643 in 1961. The Supreme Court ruled that the Fourth Amendment applies to the states by way of the Due Process Clause of the 14th Amendment. The Fourth Amendment guards a citizen's rights to probable cause before search and seizure. Probable cause must be proven for a search to be conducted. In other words, you need a warrant to search a person or their belongings. If you don't have a plausible reason, an example would be the case of Terry versus Ohio. In this case, the Supreme Court allowed for a pat-down search without a warrant if the officer observed suspicious behavior and reasonably believed that a crime was being committed. Also, in the case, the officer must be able to point out specific facts that led him to this belief. Fifth Amendment of the Bill of Rights gives the citizens rights to protection against government authority and legal procedure. It guarantees no double jeopardy in which the accused cannot be charged for the same crime case twice. In 2006, Baltimore had to dismiss a case for drugs because the man had been charged with the same exact crime twice, and the court declared it double jeopardy. This amendment also gives people due process, eminent domain, right to a grand jury, and the right to remain silent. The needs of the many outweigh the needs of the few or the one. This is challenged in many court cases such as Smith versus State, Maryland versus Schechter, Florida versus Joseph, Lucas versus South, Lawrence versus Texas, and Russell versus Bush. Sixth Amendment is the right to a fair trial. The Sixth Amendment states in all criminal prosecutions the accused shall enjoy the right to a speedy and public trial by an impartial jury of the state and district wherein the crime shall have been committed, which district shall have been previously ascertained by law, and to be informed of the nature and cause of the accusation, to be confronted with the witness against him, to have compulsory process for obtaining witnesses in his favor, and have the assistance of counsel for his defense. This gives criminals the right to a speedy trial, right to a lawyer, right to a jury trial, right to be informed of the charges, and the right to question all witnesses in a court case. Justice Sutherland did not know how to establish his innocence. In the Seventh Amendment, the Bill of Rights codifies the right to a jury trial in certain civil cases. The text states in suits at common law where the value in controversy shall exceed $20, the right of trial by jury shall be preserved, and no fact tried by a jury shall be otherwise re-examined in any court of the United States than according to the rules of the common law. An example would be in 1959, Beacon versus Westover. A guy named Fox had started a business about showing movies in a theater before anyone else could on the block, and Beacon had sued him because he didn't think it was right. Fox filed a declaration that it was not violating any laws and to stop Beacon from filing any charges against him for doing it. Beacon demanded a jury trial. The court reviewed his case and based them on to be equity. One issue that would be answered was whether the two theaters were having a competition. This is an element of the antitrust violation that juries typically decide. Beacon then decided a writ of mandamus against the district court judge. In the Atkins versus Virginia case 2002, Atkins tried to prove that executing the mentally ill for crimes was cruel and unusual punishment. This is all pertaining to the Eighth Amendment, no excessive bails and fines, and no cruel and unusual punishment. It was ruled 6-3 that executing the mentally ill was cruel and unusual by the Supreme Court of the United States. Do when your rights aren't specifically stated in the Constitution. You look to the Ninth Amendment. The Ninth Amendment declares that all rights not listed are still protected, such as freedom of expression. In the Griswold versus Connecticut case, Griswold is accused for unconstitutionally violating a woman's right for an abortion. Lastly, the Tenth Amendment. The Tenth Amendment gives any power not given to the national government to the states. An example will be South Dakota versus Dole. In this case, the Supreme Court not allowed the federal government to make a law that states the drinking age were allowed or to be lowered to the state. The federal government had passed another law that took away 10% of the highway funds from any state that would say no to setting the legal drinking age to 21. Finally, the Bill of Rights included legal protection for land-owning white men only, excluding African Americans and women. It took additional constitutional amendments and numerous Supreme Court cases to extend the same rights to all U.S. citizens. The Bill of Rights plays a key role in American law and government and remains a vital symbol to the freedoms and culture of the nation.